And we can all agree these hand loop decks are some of the most frustrating stuff that we can actually deal with. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. This is actually a personal experience of mine, actually playing out of locals fairly recently here. And of course, I mean, I'm a terrible Runic main. Insert every comment going, "Wow, Robbie, you really look like the Runic main that you are." Insert Weevil Underwood theme here. Okay, so somebody's gonna be like, "Well, Robbie, you have no right to complain about, getting hand lipped, all of this other stuff. It's just, you're playing Runic. Like, how dare you?" Well, doesn't matter what deck I'm playing if they go first and do all of the hand ripping, right? Like, it does not matter what deck you play either if they're just going to go ahead and hand rip you. I mean, like, let's call it what it is at this stage in the game. All right, and I will justify Dark World sticking around and doing its thing, but my problem here is, it's just, I'm surprised that Konami has allowed these decks to kind of stick around at this point in time. Degenerate hand-ripping shenanigans have been pretty major issues in the past. I mean, maybe it's the random RNG that compares to that versus the specific hand rip knowledge that something like a Pointer of the Red Lotus gives you. I mean, if your opponent's just going into their turn with 2 cards in their hand, I mean, or maybe no cards in their hand, what does it really matter at that point in time? So the biggest thing here is Dark World is, I believe there's another culprit in the room that can also do it. Synchro can also hand rip you with all the power of Trishula in the world. I don't care how good you are, the Synchro deck and Dark World getting the chance to do all of these little hand rip shenanigans is pretty annoying as a I guess I could consider myself a rogue player at this point in time, right? Right. Pure Runic is rogue? Yeah, that's some copium out here. So my biggest things that I want to kind of answer the question on here are, how do you deal with, these hand rip decks? What can you do to alleviate this? Well, number one, not play this game. Number two, win the dice roll. Those are 2 very big defining factors that will assist you in making sure that you don't lose to the randomness of this. But, I mean, obviously the biggest things are going to be some sort of hand trap. Dimension Shifter being one of those fantastic cards. Cutting your opponent off with a graveyard, always going to be a grade A banger play. I mean, let's be honest here. Dark World clearly loves their monsters going to the banish pile. Alright, it's a real shame that they can't resolve any of their effects. Yeah, that's what you get for hand ripping me. Alright, making me side in Shifter. Right, the Runic players playing shit. No, we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the degeneracy, and I just want to vent for a little bit. All right, my favorite part is when your opponent hits you with the, I opened up kind of bad, and then they proceed to go card destruction for 3, proceed to start full combo, giant trainer, get all the draw cards in the world, proceed to hand you double Ceruli, double Silva resolves, you're going down to 1 card in their hand, your opponent suddenly has like an Apollosa, Nutbuster Dragon 9000 is set up, they got 8 negates, and they're like, your turn, duelist, have some fun, and you're like, draw for turn. Oh man, I feel so good at this game. And they expect you to board break the Dark World player on that. Now, once again, I mean, this is the high roll consistency. I mean, that's a lot of modern era Yu-Gi-Oh decks at their finest. All right, let's call it what it is. I mean, you gotta roll the high roll in order to get things going. We've been there. We know that. We've seen it time and time again. That's just how the format is. Blah, blah, blah. There, I've justified it. I've justified getting Dark World hand ripped. I just lost to the high roll. Sometimes it just happens. I mean, let's be honest. The amount of Dark World players that we do see go to locals out here, that, we do kind of joke about. They're like, yeah, I bricked today. It is very much high risk versus high reward at this point in time. There's no other real way of looking at it. Like, the deck does its best when it doesn't brick. Isn't that just half a Yu-Gi-Oh, though? At this point in time. Now, on the hope side of the equation over here, we have the Turbo Banger 9000 Laugh at Your Opponent Synchro Combo. You didn't have any sort of interruption. Ha 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 ha. That's kind of what that feels like at the end of the day, jokingly. All right, but I mean they do the Trishula hand rip, all of the crazy value that kind of comes out of the pile there. It's not fun at all. All right, I've gotten destroyed by Trishula. Actually, our Infernoble friend, who was playtesting with our other friend who's been playtesting and learning how to do all of the synchro shenanigans out here, he actually got decimated by getting hand ripped. And it's really funny, actually, because, you know, when you look at synchro, you're like, you're going to set up these basic boards here, you know, you end on like what the Majestic Star Dragon shenanigans with the negates, and that's like the best value that you're going to get off of that. But the problem here at the end of the day is there are other things that you can do with the deck, and it's the hand rip, you know, reloop the Trishula. This build has been around for a very long time. Hi, Omega, how are you? You know, you leave your opponent on nothing. And I would make the argument that it's more devastating than getting Dark World hand looped. Insert salty Robbie comment here at the end of the day. In order to beat that deck, I mean, we all joke about like the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring and stuff, but they've learned how to, they can counter that now, you know, they can do all these things. But I mean, let's be honest here. Maybe, you know, these two decks aren't the play. I think the biggest thing that you need to consider when you're looking at Dark World and you're looking at, you know, Synchropile is, especially if you're doing like the hand loops, one, they take a lot of frickin' time to learn. All right, like trust me, you're not learning how to play Dark World in 5 minutes. You're not learning how to play Synchropile in 5 minutes. Actually, I would argue that you could probably learn how to play Kashtira in 5 minutes. With the higher skill level decks and the more like investment of combo, hand rip, with more of an investment in these sorts of lines of play, I do see players not going after them as much because it's not that inviting to them. Now, obviously, you will have the warriors out here that will learn to master these sorts of decks because that's just what they are. All right, people, you know, want to learn as much of the degenerate combos that they can learn at the end of the day because they want to be first experts in this. And, you know, we all have that. But honestly, there's not a lot you can do against these. If you don't open up hand traps, Hydro and Lockbird, Shifter, you know, these power cards that can effectively halt their turn, if you don't see those particular cards, then the matchup is kind of unwinnable. But the problem with these, at least these two decks, more so than others here, is they lose to themselves. And I think that's the reason why Konami chooses to keep some of these decks in the format, even though Master Duel, you know, destroyed Silva off the face of the planet before we could get any of the investment of the hand ripping, hand loops, none of the fun stuff that we were getting the chance to really enjoy previously, right? You avid Dark World players out there, you guys with your hand ripping, you guys with your fun, you guys are crazy. You did it. You pushed me over the edge and you made me go, you kind of hate this game. Kudos, though, to seeing Dark World actually function. It's a real shame, though, after you get hand looped and then your opponent loses to, or the next round they lose to draw. Just draw the out. That's all there is. So that's some honest advice from a salty MCOL 40 out here that got absolutely decimated at the end of the day. These sorts of particulars, I think, are kind of important to talk about, especially, you know, venting about the frustrations of the game. It's definitely important to know where the meta particularly sits and have an idea of how to counteract these, because we all have a matchup that we're frustrated with. Somebody's gonna be like, Rob, you didn't show enough salt in this video. I've gotten over it. I was a little bit disappointed in myself not being able to do anything about it, but you know, Ceruli, Silva, and the whole Dark World gang, there's nothing you can do about it. And I freaking hate Dark World. That deck is so stupid to play against. I am definitely going to make sure that I can get good. I'm about to... we all have that one meta player at locals. It's like, Yeah, if I see you here, I'm siding the Dimension Shifter, or I'm gonna side X card that counters your deck. Haha, you're never winning again. And then you just don't draw it. Well, you comment down below what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.